All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to This Week in Base Hit. I am your host, Zubaz, joined as always by Clone. Clone, what's up?
How you doing?
I'm doing great. This week in Base Hit, I became the champion of Caribbean League. So
Yeah.
I'm very excited about that because that was very much not in the cards for me this year. I did not think that was going to happen. Had a couple of 7-game series and actually unseated the defending champ Cardboard Tube in the World Series. So yeah, it was unexpected, but felt good.
Congratulations.
Felt good.
Last week, we talked this time last week, and you were saying you just barely survived.
I thought I was out.
So
Yeah, I thought I was gonna lose
that's
for
the
sure.
best. You know, I've stripped my teams back, so I'm fully TCL committed and focused, like the old days. And I'm having a good season. I don't have big things to report. Although we did have I had a conversation with Pimp this morning I was gonna bring up, which was we had a conversation about rules in the league and when we should do salary cap stuff, and he talked me out of a rule change that I had been pushing with the
What's that?
idea that, well, just moving up the salary cap change, and he just made the argument that if we did it, it was going to benefit him, and it would have benefited me too. Like whenever I'm thinking about rule changes, like I'm really not. I'm trying to think of what's going to be
Long term.
the most fun,
Yeah.
and I like the competitive balance that we got going on, and but then he and I just talked generally about the difference between hardcore players and regular players, and I don't know, that comes up a lot. It's interesting. We have
Yeah.
free agency coming, and like how much rules and everything else work for people that are constantly playing the game or daily playing the game or whatever else. I don't know.
I think there's a good push and pull with stuff like that. I mean, that's why I think the original idea with the leagues page to show the activity level, if it's high, medium, low, or rabid or whatever, is to set an expectation that if you're going to join this league, if you want to be competitive, you got to be super active. But at the same time, there's no doubt with like in a league with 24 owners, you're going to have a wide spectrum of activity. And so like there's part of it is you're hoping that the activity of the league brings more activity from those owners, but then also it's like you can build rules around it to protect those lower activity owners, but you can only do that to a certain extent because the whole goal of the game is like the best players should win. And so like that's where I think the push and pull comes in, where it's like you want to protect it, but at the same time, it's like, well, you also have a choice to show up or not.
Yes, absolutely, and there's a question of like what's active and what's not. Because I mean I fully admit, and you were laughing at me before, like if I'm going to be checking constantly now when I've got a team I care about, like if there's an angle, if there's something I need to be doing, like there's always a benefit to hustle, and generally that stuff. But I also like to believe at least that whenever we have changes or rules, that if somebody's coming in every day, that they're not gonna fall behind. Which I think we do a good job with that. It's coming up. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I could be so much better if I didn't have 16 teams.
Oh,
yeah. Like as the owner of the game, I feel like I want to try every version of every league. I'm in like 2-game league, free agency, like anything that I can experience, I do. But it does make me realize like it splits my attention so much that I can only be so good, even with max attention across all these leagues. And so like we're the exact opposite. Is like when you're in 1 or 1.5 leagues, you can focus all your attention on understand every player out there, look at other people's teams. I just will never have the time to do stuff like that. And I don't know. I think about that a lot, like whether or not I want to cut back to try to maximize my focus, because there's the activity level overall of people, and then there's the attention bandwidth as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have a good mix I mean, I want to try out different things too. It's just I know, like I've tried to pay attention to more than one team, and I know that it doesn't work for me. And yes, that's always been,
Yeah.
and the success that I had in TCL was all just because of doing one team and
Yeah.
being able to obsess over it. And um, same thing. I think most people know that hustle is going to get you pretty far. I mean, which it should be, right? It should
Yep.
do in most games.
Yeah.
Um, I was thinking about it with, because we have free agency changes that we have on the horizon, and that's part of it. One of the, like right now, well, there's also the balancing with new people coming in, right? Of figuring out a way for them to be able to succeed early on without having to be as obsessive as the people that have been, like, not being at a huge disadvantage. Um, but like free agency, I think the timing of signings right now, we made it variable a year or two ago to try to make it less predictable and try to
Yep.
like cut down on. But
There's a
I
good
think
reason we made that change, but it hasn't been perfect.
it didn't pan out, and
Yeah.
I think one of the changes we're making, and I'm hoping that it's all gonna be optional, but setting a standard um, time when free agency would process for leagues if they choose it to be more like fantasy leagues. So like, let's say it's noon every day, like, so then going into it that sometime during the day you should put in your bids before noon, and everybody knows when it's going to happen. You're not having to check each individual player to see what happens. You're not having to constantly, which again, I think that will help the less obsessive people, because I'm the person that will keep free agency open and be willing to check all the time. But
Yeah.
not everybody can do that. I know it's frustrating and unfun when you're losing out because you have a job or because you go to sleep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I think
um,
noon is a good time too, because like we were talking about this a little bit earlier, but like for Hawaii, that's like 6 a.m. and then all the way until you get to um India, I think it's like 11 p.m. So like even for people worldwide, with the exception of our friends in like Southeast Asia, it's the best time for everybody during a waking hour to be able to check their team as well.
yeah, I was talking to Piggy about it because he's in Sweden. I was worrying about it, but
But
I mean,
he's
as
like
long as
what, 7 hours ahead, something like that. So
I
it's
don't know,
7 p.m.
you've got this in your mind better than me.
Yeah, yeah.
I was just thinking how impressed I was with your time zone stuff, but
Actually, I don't know if that's true, so I should probably look it up
any of
while you're
those are right.
talking.
I do know that India is on a half hour. Did you say a half hour?
Well, yeah, I said, but they're like 12 hours ahead or 11 and a half or whatever it is.
Um, I think as long as we put a limit on there so that everybody gets if somebody gets dropped to free agency, there's enough amount of time that everybody has a shot at them. I think having a standard time will be good for people,
I was right.
because
It's
then
7 p.m.
as
in
long as
Stockholm. Sorry.
that's
Yeah.
no, it's good.
Yeah.
What is it in the
Mumbai?
Philippines?
Oh, yeah, I haven't looked up the
Is
Philippines yet.
Philippines where Soldats was?
Yeah, yeah,
Soldats?
yeah.
There you go.
Manila.
When was he playing?
Uh
Um.
it's
Anyway,
well,
it
yeah,
doesn't
it's
matter.
1:10 a.m. there right now. So actually that's not even that bad. I mean, it's not great, but it's not that bad.
Now we're making people scared about whether their time zone. No,
All
the
right,
whole point
whatever,
would be
whatever.
everybody
Yes.
everybody would have a fair shot at making their bids on guys, and you would know exactly when it's going to happen. And then
It would be
the
more
other,
predictable without having to check every sim, essentially, is
yes,
what you're saying.
yes,
Yes.
yes, that's yes, trying to give people the nice thing that they're not having to constantly be keep up with everybody. And
Yep.
then the other change that goes along with that is letting leagues have fully closed bidding, because I think those two will go nicely together. Because we have the issue right now that I think is unfun for a lot of people, that people like me who are obsessive can be checking to see if somebody else bid on their players
Yep.
all the time, and then
If
or you
yeah,
could
if you
time it
were
out to go one over.
yeah, I think that's the interesting one too, because especially because the disadvantage is to the first bidder, and typically that shouldn't be the case.
Yeah,
Because like me with 16 teams, I bid and forget, like, and I just go back and hope the players are there, and I lose a ton of guys because of that. But if it was fully closed, I would I would give more thought to overbidding right off the
Yeah.
bat. Yeah.
Hopefully that would have a good impact. First of all, yeah, I don't think that your bid strategy should be impacted by, yeah, if you've
By
noticed
whether
that
you're
somebody
first or
else
not.
bid, yeah.
Yeah.
And market wise, it should make some better prices because you actually have to think about,
Yeah.
yeah, have it based on what you're willing to pay as opposed to
And make an
that
assessment if you think
somebody.
this is a guy that probably is going to garner other bids, and take your chances.
And it works well with the time because then with the standard time, you don't need to worry about people that are able to be there 11:59 seeing that you have a bid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about them being impacted by it.
Yep. Yep.
I'm excited about these.
Yeah. And like I was going to make the equivalent of fantasy sports, but the one difference there is like then you have like a waiver wire, which gets a little weird with 24 teams. I'm not sure. Maybe that could be an option down the road, but there's problems with waiver wire stuff too, because you can manipulate that.
Yeah, it could be confusing for people, but who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, I do think there's some things that we have better than fantasy, but some of the other things, I think some of the people, a lot of people are coming from fantasy sports and they come in and having some predictable time absolutely would help out.
Yep.
Hey, I got my first text for a trade this week. That was exciting.
Oh yeah.
Have you had that happen?
I've had a bunch of them. Oh yeah, with
Have
16
you made a bunch
teams?
of trades? Oh yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. You're right.
And yeah, and I've made several successful trades that came to me through trades and through counters, and it's been nice having the text messages because I've been able to respond to them likely while that person's still online.
Yeah.
Which is
yeah.
the one part I didn't really think about is they're still online when I like throwing a counter their way or something.
Yeah, it's a good point. Yeah, if people haven't signed up for it, they should totally sign up for it.
Yeah, definitely sign up for it. It's
when
so
the
much
pop-up
better.
comes up.
And then the eventual greatness of being able to know when your draft picks are coming up will be.
I had planned, yeah, we'll get that going too.
Yeah.
I had trade with Tony Remke.
Yeah.
And I had planned to be checking back in to see if it went through because I traded for draft picks at 6 that were going to be made at 9. So I had just planned like I'm going to just have to keep refreshing and refreshing.
At what that was happening at 9? Sticks?
Picks. Draft picks.
Oh, picks.
Sorry.
That's funny because earlier I thought you said fully clothed draft, and I was like, "What are we doing? Drafts naked or picks?"
That's my
fully clothed picks.
You're making fun of my draw.
No,
I traded him for a pick that was happening at 9. I made the offer at like 5.
Oh,
and it was going to be close. So I was going to have to keep checking. And then I was doing something else. And all of a sudden I got the text that he had accepted it. And it was like, oh,
that's cool.
Look how modern we are.
Yeah, that's cool. I like it.
That's it, man. We're running up on 15 minutes. You got 1 minute to tell me something else that happened.
I mean, CBT's. I do want to say CBT's been on a run ever since he joined the team here. So I think we might be good luck for him because he just won the World Series in Go. Yeah,
but then you just beat him. You just
beat him in Carl. But hey, second place. That's first loser. That's still a win.
That's good. We had the opposite impact on Hardy that we screwed up his.
Yeah, he lost his 113 season thing. Yeah. Oh yeah, I didn't think about that. Yeah. Sorry, Mike. All right. We don't have the benefit of the beautiful thing today, but we'll get it back next week.
There you go.
Yep, we both have one, but this one.
I'll flip it back over and it's the right time.
Yep, and we're done. All right, that's it. Any closing thoughts? Otherwise,
nope.
We are
Have a good one.
out.